Welcome to the first in a series of videos created to help you get the most out of your new Emotiva XMC-1 7.2 channel home theater preamp processor. In this episode, we're going to cover how to connect the XMC-1 to the rest of your system. Later videos will cover different aspects of how to configure your XMC-1 to work just the way you want it to. The XMC-1 preamp processor is designed to be the control center of your system. It sits between your source devices, such as a Blu-ray player, satellite receiver, cable box, or streaming player, and your amplifier or amplifiers. The XMC-1 lets you select which device to watch or listen to. Once you do that, the XMC-1 divides up the signal, sending the video portion to your display or projector, and the audio portion to your amplifier or amplifiers. Along the way, the XMC-1 applies the appropriate audio decoding or processing to make each input signal sound its best. On the front panel of the XMC-1, you will find several navigation buttons: left, right, up, down, and enter, input selection buttons, a rotary volume control, and a big, bright, easy-to-read graphical blue OLED display. For this video, we're going to focus our attention on the XMC-1's rear panel, which contains all of the inputs you're likely to need to connect a wide variety of source components, and the outputs you'll need to connect the XMC-1 to your amplifier or your subwoofers. Most modern source components have HDMI outputs. With an HDMI connection, both video and audio are carried over a single cable, which makes connecting things simpler and cuts down on cable clutter. The XMC-1 has 8 HDMI inputs, which should be plenty for all of your video and AV source components. It also has plenty of analog and digital audio inputs for your audio components as well. We'll only be using a few of these inputs in our example. When you get ready to set up your system, the first thing you should do is to identify all of your source components and confirm how you want to connect them to the XMC-1. For our tutorial, we're going to assume we have a Blu-ray player, cable or satellite box, a media streamer, and an audiophile quality CD player. The first three sources, the Blu-ray player, cable box, and media streamer, all have HDMI outputs, so all we'll need to do is run an HDMI cable from the HDMI output on each device to the HDMI input on our XMC-1. Even if some of them also offer other types of connections, HDMI is almost always the best and easiest choice when it is available. The XMC-1's 8 HDMI inputs should be plenty for even a complex home theater system. The XMC-1 even has 2 HDMI outputs in case you want to connect 2 monitors or a monitor and a projector. But we're not going to get into advanced subjects like that in this video. Our last source, the CD player, isn't going to have an HDMI output since it isn't a video component. Instead, most CD players have analog audio outputs, and many also have digital outputs. Which one you decide to use will depend on your particular player. In many cases, you'll get the best sound by using a digital cable to connect the CD player to your XMC-1 and letting the XMC-1 convert the digital audio into analog. But if you have an audiophile quality CD player and you like how its analog outputs sound, you may prefer to use the analog connections. If, like many people, your CD player is also your Blu-ray player, then your CDs will play through the same HDMI connection as your videos. For our example, we'll assume that we have a really nice audiophile CD player with great sounding analog outputs, so we'll connect those to an analog input on the XMC-1. The XMC-1 has both balanced and unbalanced analog audio inputs. If your player has both, then balanced is the best choice. If not, then unbalanced cables are good enough. If you play DTS or surround sound CDs, you may also need to connect a digital cable between the player and your XMC-1 to carry the surround digital audio signal. The XMC-1 has plenty of inputs for all of your analog audio components, including 1 pair of balanced reference stereo inputs, 1 pair of reference quality unbalanced stereo inputs, 2 regular unbalanced stereo inputs, and a full set of 7.1 channel unbalanced analog inputs. Now that we have all of our source components connected to the XMC-1, it is time to connect our amplifier or amplifiers and our subwoofer. The XMC-1 is designed for home theater systems that have up to 7 speakers and 2 subwoofers, which is usually referred to as a 7.2 channel system. Of course, the XMC-1 will work great with a 7.1 channel system just as easily as it will with a 5.1 or 5.2 channel system. The XMC-1 will even work with a simple stereo system, as long as you tell it which system you are trying to configure. Connecting your XMC-1 to a multi-channel amplifier is quite simple. All you have to do is run an interconnect cable between each output of the XMC-1 and the appropriate input on your amplifier, one for each channel you intend to use. It is important that each output on the XMC-1 ends up at the correct speaker, so you'll want to keep track of your connections. Many amplifiers offer both balanced and unbalanced inputs. If you have both options, then you'll get the best sound quality and the best immunity from interference if you used balanced cables. You'll also need to use balanced cables if all of your other components are fully differential and you want to maintain a fully differential signal path. The amplifier we're using has both types of inputs, so we'll use the balanced connections, making sure to set the input switch to balanced in the process. At this point, you should have one interconnect going between the XMC-1 and the amplifier for each speaker you intend to use. Once you connect a cable between the XMC-1 and each of your amplifier's channels, you'll want to connect the speaker output of each amplifier channel to the appropriate speaker. Use good, heavy speaker cable and make sure to connect your speakers in phase, or red to red, black to black. Now, let's talk about subwoofers. Almost all subwoofers these days are powered, which simply means that the amplifier needed to drive them is internal. Since subwoofer placement can be tricky, we'll cover it in detail in another video. For now, we'll just say that you should decide where you're going to put your sub or subs, and then buy the appropriate length of cable to connect them to the XMC-1. Like other amplifiers, a sub may have balanced or unbalanced inputs, or both. If your sub has both, balanced cables are usually the better choice. This is especially true for subwoofers, since subs are often located at a greater distance from the XMC-1 than your other amplifiers. If you have stereo subs, then connect each one to the appropriate output on the XMC-1. If you only have one sub, you can connect it to either output. It's time to connect the power cord, turn on the rear panel power switch, and press the standby button to wake it up. In the next video, we'll show you how to set up your XMC-1 to match the connections we've just made. When you connect your XMC-1, if this all seems a bit complicated, you'll find that it likely helps to write things down, or draw a little map or diagram showing where all the wires go. List each of your source devices and what input on the XMC-1 you've connected them to. You'll need this information to configure your XMC-1, and it serves as a great reminder later when you want to add components or change your existing configuration.